Hey, Brandon Norfleet and Tevin Hanna are coming onto the show today, Jose.
PSAC champ!
That's right. Hey, everybody. Welcome into the only sports talk show that really matters right here on IUP-TV. We're so blessed that you've joined us here. We're going to really pipe it up this evening and talk about some sports. We're going to begin here in the field of Major League Baseball, talk about the spring training season and give our spring training roundup. A lot of players have moved teams here. We're going to break it all down in our spring training roundup, and then we're going to face the facts with the issue of racism in sports. Will Gaucher and Isaac Muhammad down here to discuss that topic, and then we'll close the show out with the squad. Brandon Norfleet and Tevin Hanna here in the Crimson Huddle. We're going to discuss the upcoming PSAC tournament and talk about some of their favorite moments from this past season. So we've got a lot coming your way, so don't want to go away. It's the big hit right now.
Out of all the bird teams in the NFL, I really like the Cardinals. The Seahawks and the Falcons, no chance.
If it were up to me, I would eliminate all bird mascots altogether. Like, none. No more. I'm over it. It's not even that great or a scary mascot. It's not that impressive. You know, it really bugs me that these teams have these type of bird mascots. Like, what is a bird? You know, what's the point of it? I don't get it. You know, I go fly around into a tree. I don't understand it. It just makes no sense to me that a team.
Students in communications media at Indiana University of Pennsylvania can focus on a variety of areas, including media promotions. Our promotion students learn their skills by working in a hands-on environment, gaining real-world experience. They learn how to use media to promote, produce, and manage events, and how media organizations operate. They create promotional campaigns and help clients pitch their services, products, and events. With excellent classes led by experienced teachers, the Communications Media Department at IUP is perfect for students interested in media promotions.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into the only sports talk show that really matters. It's the big hit. We're so happy to have you with us, and we're going to talk about a return that's even bigger than the one that Shane McMahon made last night on Monday Night Raw. It's time for MLB Spring Training. It's our roundup, and we're so happy to welcome Jared Brown and Sarah Rudy here to the set to talk a little baseball. They've got their peanuts and Cracker Jacks back in the back. They're ready to dive in after this, get some spring training baseball started. So we are underway. Teams reporting to their various locations throughout the country, mainly in the south part of the country here. Many teams have players to evaluate, holes to fill, and kinks to work out, obviously, like every other year of all MLB teams. Which do you believe must put forth the most effort in spring training to make themselves contenders for the playoffs?
I mean, it hurts me to say it, but it has to be the Pirates. I mean, they've made zero big moves during the offseason. I mean, they picked up John Neese and Ryan Vogelsong. And, I mean, Ray Searage really has his work cut out for him. Like, we know he's a magician. We saw what he did with J. Happ last year. But Vogelsong, Neese, and Jeff Locke, they had a 26-33 record last year combined with a 4.74 ERA. Like, yeah, Ray Searage is good, but is he that good to make a solid rotation with those three guys? I mean, Garrett Cole and Lariano, we know what they're going to do, but those three they're a big question mark for me, and I don't know if they have what it takes to help the Pirates get back into the playoffs. So I'm going to have to say the Pirates. It's just they have their work cut out for them.
I feel like the Phillies. That's kind of an old name bringing up because we haven't heard them for a while. Ryan Howard's very optimistic, and with all the injuries they've been having last season, and I just feel like their players are old. They need to revive them, do something better to make fourth and get them a playoff spot in this season in the fall.
Yeah, and then you look at the divisions, and the division the Phillies are in certainly would be more suited to them getting a playoff spot than the division the Pittsburgh Pirates are in with the quality of the teams. You just look at the power shift in those divisions here. Let's talk about some of the big arms that traded places here in the offseason. Zach Greinke, David Price, Johnny Cueto, John Lackey, Aroldis Chapman, all some of the pitchers who have found new homes this season. Which pitcher do you think will benefit his new team the most out of that crew?
All right, well, you just said it, David Price. I mean, he's pitched 18-5 record last year, and he spent 21 of his games in Detroit. So they're not that really high-powered of an offense. He probably got a bunch of no decisions. You send him to Boston, a team averaging almost about 5 runs a game, he's going to be racking up the wins. I mean, he has a great ERA. He's a phenomenal pitcher. He just needs a solid offense behind him. And I also think he might be that keystone pitcher to put the Red Sox back into playoff contention. I don't think he's quite enough to get the Red Sox into the playoffs because the AL is pretty competitive and they have a bunch of hot bats up north. But yeah, David Price, he's what the Red Sox needed, and I think he's going to do a great job with that offense behind him.
I agree with David Price also. He's putting up great numbers. Like last season, he put up a good ERA. He had 225 strikeouts and like 250 at-bats, which is like amazing. His ERA was 2.45 from last season. Like he said, there's 18-5 record. And him and David Ortiz just ironed out their battle, and I think they're ready to go. So Boston will be expecting good stuff this season.
Yeah, and you look at the pitchers who move, and a lot of times it's the bigger market teams who land the bigger market names, and that's not a surprise because they have a lot more money to throw around and work with. So it's kind of a shifting of where these guys are going. We'll see who comes out with the best season out of this free agent group. Of course, as every year, there are position players who move and there are pitchers who move. We're going to talk about the position players right now. Jason Hayward, Todd Frazier, Daniel Murphy are among the list of players who will be wearing a new uniform here this season. So which of these guys is going to benefit the squad the most?
Definitely Jason Hayward. I mean, the Cubs, they're a phenomenal team. They're missing that one leader, the one guy that they need that has the experience to get them into the World Series. They don't know how to compete in the postseason yet, which is understandable. It was their first time back, and how many years since that dude caught the foul ball that kept them out of the World Series. So Hayward, and this is a good pick for Hayward too, because he's been around long enough. He knows that the only statistic that truly matters is championships. And he's going to the Cubs. ESPN is already projecting them to win the World Series. He has Joe Madden, who I would consider one of the top 3 managers in the NL. So both the Cubs and Jason Hayward are going to benefit a lot from this trade.
I again picked Jason Hayward. Again, with the good numbers, he last season had a 293 batting average, which is really good. 79 runs. He's 26. He's young. He's ready to go. Ready to make some improvements for the Cubs and see where they go.
Jason Hayward, a guy who is 26, but he still has a lot of experience at the major league level, which is always good. So he's got the good combination of youth plus experience, which is really a player you would you'd call that player in the prime of their career. You add him in with a bunch of the young stars in Chicago, and it's no surprise why they are considered to be early World Series favorites here in spring training. But we're going to talk about teams as a whole now, and as of right now, let's talk about which team you think has the strongest pitching rotation and which team you think has the strongest batting lineup going into spring training.
Well, for pitching, it's no question. It's definitely the Mets. I mean, you have those 3 superstars in DeGrom, Syndergaard, and Harvey. 3 guys who you could send out against anybody, and for the most part, you're going to expect a win. With those 3 guys, you're going to have a very good season, and they're always expected to put up good numbers, good ERAs, and a good record. And for the bats, the Blue Jays, I mean, they were the best offense in the MLB last year. They averaged over 5 runs a game, and I really haven't seen any changes in their lineup this year. I can't think of any major trades or anybody who they really didn't re-sign. They still have all their power hitters, all their on-base hitters. They have the returning AL MVP. They have Joey Bats. They have everything they need to compete in the playoffs. So their bats are a threat in the AL, NL, anywhere you put them.
This was a tough one. I said the Blue Jays for pitching because I feel we're in spring training. Things are constantly changing. People might change, some stuff like that. And then the KC Royals for batting because they're last year World Series champs, and I just feel they'll be very good in batting this season.
Yeah, both teams with power in and out of the lineup throughout the entire duration of the lineup. But let's talk a little bit more about the National League. You mentioned the New York Mets. They were the team that represented the National League in the World Series. But there was one team that had a lot of success against the New York Mets in the regular season. That team was the Pittsburgh Pirates. Pittsburgh 6-0 against New York last year. They never trailed against the New York Mets last season, who, like I said, represented the National League in the World Series. The Pittsburgh Pirates relatively quiet this offseason after another one-and-done year against the Chicago Cubs. We talked about some of the other moves made in the division with Chicago and St. Louis adding a bunch of new talent. So do you think the Pittsburgh Pirates still have what it takes to compete for a playoff spot?
Like I said earlier, the Pirates definitely have their work cut out for them. But, I was thinking a lot about this last night, and I came up with a good 3-step program to get the Pirates into the postseason. So first off, the Pirates, they're going to have to beat the Reds and the Brewers. They had a losing record against them last year, even with 98 wins. They're horrible. How are you have a losing record against your divisional foes that have no pitching? Cueto's gone for good. You don't have to worry about him. Ryan Braun, he hasn't done anything since his steroid suspension. He's been in a flunk, so you shouldn't be really worried about them. Those should be easy wins, and you play them a lot. So you need to get your numbers up against those two teams. Number 2, ride the Cole train. He's the NL Cy Young candidate. Every Pirates fan expects a win from him, regardless of who's on the other side on the mound. And he had 11 no decisions last year. The offense really needs to step up when he's out there. It's an easy win when he's out there. Score 4 runs, you're almost guaranteed to win. And number 3, Bob Nutting, I hope you're watching. Open up your wallet. You are the 12th richest owner in the league, but you still spend like you're in a small market. Spend your money. You made 6 times the money with the Pirates since you bought the team. Neil Huntington has done a great job for you. He's gotten great players over the years, but you still are too cheap to pay the players to get into the World Series. Just spend the money. That's all you have to do, Bob, and then you're in the World Series.
Well, I think, the Pirates still have it. That last season, we all know they came very close to the playoff spot, so I feel like they still have that momentum. And since they lost, it makes them want it more. So they hopefully will get their stuff together spring training and get ready for the season. I know McCutcheon's hungry. He's ready to go. He's ready for hopefully maybe a championship-winning season. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm still writing down Jared's 3-step plan here. Division wins, Cole train, spend money. Great. Okay, so maybe we could put a little graphic up on the screen and make sure Jared knows what the Pirates have to do as a key to victory this year. But spring training is around the corner. We're going to go hit the batting cages right now. But when we return here on the Big Hit, we're going to face the facts with the concept of racism in sports. So for Sarah Rudy and Jared Brown, my name's Joshua. We're going to take a break, come back with more sports talk right after this here on IUP-TV.
Success. We see it every day. Hundreds of majors and programs, bachelor's degrees to PhDs, small classes, internationally known faculty who are committed to your success. Real-world experiences to guide you on your career and life path. An alumni network 120,000 strong. I'm IUP President Mike Driscoll. Visit us. Find your success at Indiana University of Pennsylvania.
So guys, with the tournament coming up, what are IUP's chances this year?
I think they have a really good chance because the PSAC is not that strong compared to IUP. IUP moves the ball a lot quicker than most teams. They're very well-rounded. They've been playing together for a while. They've got a lot of big-time transfers. So I think that they have the edge over most of their opponents simply because they have experience. Experience gives you the edge any day of the week. So that's definitely why I think they can win the PSAC tournament for sure. What do you think, Norm?
Great evening, everyone. I'm William Gosey alongside Izzy Muhammad. We will be talking about race in sports. This is Face the Facts. First question, Izzy, for you. In what sports do you see the most and the least racial disparity?
First off, I would definitely have to go with golf. I don't even know of a minority that still plays golf. Tiger Woods was the most dominant player in golf from like 1996 to 2009 or 2006, one of those. I feel like in golf, even when he was dominating, there hasn't been such a great like attraction for minorities to be in the sport. Honestly, I just wonder why nobody wants to play golf. Sometimes people feel like it's a game for higher class people, but I feel like everybody should be able to play golf and they should be able to play professionally. Now, for the next one, least, I'm gonna have to go with. I'm definitely going with the NFL because the NFL right now is at 66%, with the majority being African American. Right now, the tables are turning, and you're starting to see a lot more African Americans involved in the sport, and they're excelling at it. And I just feel like about 50, 60 years ago, you wouldn't see this type of thing in sports. But it's good to see the diversity coming out. It's good to see people thrive.
Yeah, as you touch on two great points, you're talking about golf and baseball, and when you look at the two, it's just like, yeah, you can clearly see it if you were to watch it on. Both sports are broadcast, on Sundays. Usually, people tune in golf mostly on Sundays, but I would definitely have to go with baseball. Only 8% of African Americans, I believe, Latinos actually have more than that. And then for probably the least, it would definitely have to be the NBA. 74%. But back to my baseball point, you really don't see it too often. At least when I'm riding around in my city, there's no really pickup games that I see in the neighborhoods that I go into of baseball. I know when I was growing up, we used to at least go and play pickup baseball. I don't see any young kids playing pickup baseball anymore. That's the key right there, because that's your star level. And then just going throughout the ranks, I look at college baseball today. Jameis Winston. He was a star at Florida State, but that was also because he was a star on the football field. But then switching over to basketball being the least, you go to any court in America, in the neighborhoods that I at least go to, it's nothing but black males just going at it. It's like a cultural thing, really, with basketball. It's like you either rap or you play basketball. Right. That's just the facts that are behind it. So I would definitely have to say those two would be where we stand on that racial issue. So getting into the next question, does the lack of diversity in owner/management positions affect racial disparity?
I feel like back like 60 years ago it did, but not right now no more, because I feel like coaches and owners, they're really just looking for the best player at this moment. I feel like it doesn't really matter about what race you are, but if you can play the sport that they're looking for, I feel like they'll definitely pick you up. I don't think that has so much of an impact as it did back in the 40s and 50s, but now I feel like it's being more diverse and they really just look for the best player available.
Yeah, as you talk about back in the 1940s and 50s, it definitely played a majority role. There were no black owners then, so it was basically handpicked by white males. Women didn't even have a say in any of this, and still today don't, which is another issue for another day. But I would have to say that it does. When you look at 92 teams that are spread throughout the three major sports, football, baseball, and basketball, there's only one minority owner, and that's Michael Jordan. So it's insane. There's more Asian owners actually in those three sports than there are black owners. So when you look at that, it just rings out that black people can't own things, but you guys can entertain us. You guys can still make a profit for us, but we won't let you own anything. But that's those facts right there. Next question for us. Do you believe people such as those who continue to argue against the Washington Redskins are overreacting? And part two to that question is, what about the Missouri football players who threaten to stop playing? How do you feel about that, Izzy?
I feel like people aren't overreacting, because when you think about the Washington Redskins, that's really offensive to people who represent Native American identity. And I feel like even back because it was such a tradition in the United States, they just kept the name. I feel like the name should just disappear along with the racial tension that people still have with this team. People still to this day debate about whether this name should be changed. And I feel like that it really should be changed, because just because it might not hit you home doesn't mean it doesn't affect someone of a different race. You know what I'm saying? And going with Missouri football players, I definitely feel like that they weren't overreacting either, because when you think about it, they're going to school. They're going to school to go play football. They earned this. They put their life into this game. They've been playing football probably since they were around 6 or 7. And when you think about it, these guys, all they want to do is play football. And when they go to college, they want to feel like they're welcome there. And when you go to Missouri, Missouri only has rate of 3.7% of black people, and I feel like that has to change. Like they feel like they're not represented right, they're not welcome, and I just feel like we should definitely change that type of thing because these are serious things. Like they're making the university so much money, and I feel like if they can do that, then the university can at least welcome them and make them feel at home.
Are there any other instances that you could think of, like going alongside of the debate of the Redskins as well as the Missouri football players sitting out? Is there any other instances in sports that like really stand out to you?
I'll go back to the Clippers with the Donald Sterling thing.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like what he did was wrong, even though it was private. It's just some things you shouldn't say, especially in this day and age. Like people are starting to finally let things be natural. They're not letting things that are disrespectful come out. Like you know the old saying, if you don't have nothing to say, you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all. That's the type of thing I feel like that he should have did. But that's probably the biggest thing that I could think of because honestly, it was just disturbing to me.
Yeah, to go just off of that question, the thing that really comes to my mind was that don't shoot, that wave that went through the NBA where players were supporting, you know, that cause, or even in St. Louis where they came out with their hands up. I really remember those movements as really rallying cries. But back to the Redskins, I do find it offensive. I mean, it's something that you wouldn't want a team being called any derogatory slur. I won't get into that on the show, but you wouldn't want any other team being directed towards another racial group. So why is it okay for the Redskins? I understand hail to the Skins. I like the Redskins. I'm a Steeler fan, but I enjoy watching the Redskins succeed. But when I understand the tradition as well, but that name is just offensive. I mean, IUP had a name change. We were the Indians. Now, it was offensive to people. They got it changed, obviously, to the Crimson Hawks now. So I do see a problem with that. And then you go back to the Missouri football players. They did what they were supposed to do, seriously. Because when you can't even feel comfortable about going to your own school and the death threats that were going against the black kids on that campus, that they were just trying to get an education how everybody else is. I just didn't understand how people's mindsets went that far. But I do feel that they did the right thing. Anybody that had a problem with it, I mean, go talk to those kids that were actually living with it, and then maybe you'll change your opinion. But let's move along now to take a little trip back in time. How far have we come in the sporting world since the mid-1990s when Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier?
I feel like we've come so far since the 1950s because Jackie Robinson, he's one of the pioneers of baseball for African Americans, first African American to play professional baseball. And I feel like that things like that, if he hadn't done that, honestly, most sports wouldn't be integrated today. You think about the NFL, which integrated into 1946, those type of things happened. And like, I feel like this was going on right around the civil rights civil rights era. You had Bill Russell, who became the first black NBA coach in the league, and I feel like we've come such a long way to finally succeed and thrive in this league. And I feel like that definitely the tables are turning, and we're doing way better in society. And I feel like it's still a work in progress, but we can definitely keep moving forward.
And excuse me, I said mid-1990s, I meant 1900s, but you answered the question just fine. I feel like we've made really, really great progress. I mean, how you touched on it, I was just watching Express yesterday, and just to see how much people hated Ernie Davis, and by the way, he was, I believe, one of the first Black Heisman winners, if not the first, and just the hate and everything that he had to go through is like, you look at it now and black athletes are celebrated throughout all cultures. Back then it was just through our culture. And that's another thing I meant to touch on is to stop saying the word like black. Like, we're just Americans. Everybody's an American. We go anywhere else in the world, we're an American. So that would be a stride that I would like us to take going forward. But I feel like we made tremendous progress. And I forgot to touch on the point in baseball in the Jackie Robinson League that came out of Chicago. I mean, what a great story. And then you look at Monique Davis. So there are strides made towards trying to get black children or American children to get a greater push towards baseball and other sports where you don't see the race of black or African American, whatever you choose, in those sports. But our last question for today that we'll leave you with is, what can be done to make sure that pro sports continues to make strides when it comes to racial disparity?
I feel like that these communities, where they have these professional establishments, I feel like that they should educate and diversify people's minds, because if everyone has a closed mind, then there's no hope for the future. Because if you can't have an open mind, you can't step into other people's shoes and see how they live. Like, I feel like everybody has to know what everybody else is going through to be able to move forward. Because some people, I might not have the same experience as someone else, but we all have some type of prejudice against someone else, whether we know it or not, whether it's subconsciously. But I feel like if we can just educate everyone, education is a major key to that. And I feel like if everyone is educated towards this topic, then we can make great strides into the future.
Yeah, you touched on it, Izzy. Education. Just educate people about different cultures, just being open to people. When we listen to music together, we all kind of like the same music. When we watch sports, we cheer for the same teams. Why can't we just come together there? So you touched on it as well, too. Another great point is these athletes in these major cities, I mean, they do a lot, do not get me wrong, but as a unit and a group, they need to come together, all the pro teams, and just go out into these neighborhoods and show the kids, like, you do not need to be doing what you're doing to survive. There are many other ways, and once we get to that point, I swear, we're going to see something great going. But that's all that we have today for Face the Facts for William Gosset and Ishaq Muhammad. We're going to send it over to Josh Hill and some familiar faces, and for the Crimson Hawks Insider.
It's hard to explain. It just became home. There are hundreds of majors and programs, bachelor's degrees to PhDs, small classes and faculty that really get to know you. Amazing internships and everywhere, programs that help to find a job that is right for you. It's what IUP is about, a commitment to your success. See it for yourself. Visit us, Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Find your success.
Oh, hey, Devontae. I've been working on something, man. I want you to check it out.
Keep working on that.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Crimson Huddle. We're so pleased to be back with you here on the Big Hit, and we've got a special treat for you here in the midst of basketball season. Both Tevin Hanner and Brandon Norfleet have taken some time from their scrupulous preparation to join us here in studio and talk a little IUP men's basketball. Both seniors on the IUP men's basketball team, Tevin Hanner, sociology major, Brandon Norfleet, a local product here, a communications media major at IUP. Gentlemen, it's been a really good season for everybody here at IUP, both the men and the women. So you clinched your first division title since you've both been here at IUP, both of you transferring in. So I'd just like to start the conversation off by asking, what did it mean for you to finally get that division title under your belt, and does that help you focusing on your goals moving forward?
Yeah, it was big. Me being here 3 years, I haven't gotten it, and IUP has such a success here, and it was just our first goal. Our first goal of the season, it was our second goal actually. Our first goal was to get 20 wins. Second goal was to be PSAC West champs, and now we want to be conference champs, and then further on past that. But it was just big. For me, coming from where I come from, I haven't won a championship, and for us to be PSAC West champs in the regular season, that's huge coming from me.
Yeah, I thought it was real big because with a lot of our core players leaving last year, I think a lot of people counted out this senior group, and it was definitely on our agenda to get that done, especially because we didn't get it done last year. So I think that was real big for us to get that done.
Certainly, that's a great point because you had a lot of seniors leave, so the burden kind of fell on to you guys as the rising seniors here. Your program, one of the tops in the Atlantic region over the past 9 seasons, and last year was a big reason for that success. I'm sure you remember it very vividly because you went to the NCAA Division II National Championship game, and coming in, the expectations were obviously very high, hoping for a repeat. A lot of comparisons drawn from this year to last year. So what does this year's team do better than last year's, and what are the differences between these two teams?
Well, this year is the most enthusiastic team that I've ever been a part of. Everybody's so into each other. We love coming to practice and just competing with each other. We have a good time. We don't come to practice like, oh, we have to come to practice. Like, we're excited to come to practice and be together, things like that. I also feel like last year's team was way better defensively. But to counteract that, we've been great on offense this year, so that's really elevated us.
Yeah, to this point, enthusiasm has been real high, higher than last year. And I think we're a lot different on defense to the point where we're more athletic. But at the same time, the last year team had so much experience, so we was a lot smarter on defense. And we've been taking a little bit of lapses because of the young group and just all of the new pieces we've been having. So if it had to say any difference, I'd say it'd be the experience on defense.
Yeah, it's certainly a great point. A lot of younger players coming in here this season. Last year you had some guys who have been there and done that in both the conference tournament and in the NCAA tournament, especially with a guy like Sean Dyer transferring in a lot of championship game experience. But with a younger team, you certainly have done a great job so far this season. Tevin, I'd like to kind of spotlight you as you talk about the man to your right there, Brandon Norfleet. He's obviously had a tremendous year. He does lead the conference in scoring. Single season records are shattering here in the IUP record books, and he's earning a potential All-American bid with his play so far this year. So tell me a little bit what it's like to play with Brandon Norfleet. Is the kind of season he's having surprise you at all? And just tell me a little bit about playing with Brandon Norfleet here.
It's real easy for me. When you play with a guy as talented as Brandon is, it makes my job a lot easier, and I get a lot of easy looks that I wouldn't get if I was playing with different players. So, and it's not surprising to me at all. Last year, me and him, Daddy, we all was waiting in the wings under those seniors who had the green light for good reason, but it wasn't surprising to me at all. I expected it. He put all the work in, and it's well deserved.
Absolutely. Teammates. Good. He's speaking well about you, Brandon. So, Brandon, I'd like to talk to you a little bit here. Coming in, you were behind a lot of guys. You had a starting role, but not a real leadership role just because of the guys you had behind you. And coming into this season, everyone kind of knew that you were going to be the guy. And it wasn't easy to start, certainly, with a shaky start to the season. Then your friend Devon Cottrell, fellow senior, going down game number 6 into the season. But you guys have obviously rebounded, have reeled off a tremendous year, and are postseason bound once again. So how have you managed to put together one of the top seasons in IUP history, and what do those accomplishments and these big numbers really mean to you personally?
Well, it started from last year. The senior guys knew I was going to have a bigger role this year, so the whole time last year they were standing in my ear trying to get me better, trying to be a better leader because they knew what role I was going to be in this year. So after the season was over, that whole off season I was just working on my game. My dad, he always told me, he always wanted me to ask this question every time I worked in the gym: what do you want your legacy to be? And I want to be a champion once I'm done here. And I got a great group of guys around me. They're keeping me engaged every day in practice. Coach Lombardi, he's doing a great job in preparing me every day. It's been a great ride right now, and I'm just happy to be in this position I am right now.
Very good. One more thing before we go to break. Last year in the PSAC championship game, you went up to Gannon and lost on a last-second shot. Can you kind of tell me how that has motivated you guys going into this season? Was that something that you kind of drew back on when you were working out in the off season? You were this close. Yeah. Is that something you drew on?
Definitely. Every time me and Tev, we met up in the gym, we never wanted to feel that pain that we felt losing like that in the championship game last year, because we thought this conference belonged to IUP. Like, IUP's we have success at IUP. That's the history here. So we don't want to be those guys that lose again in the championship our senior year. So we just want to push our teammates and just we want them to feed off how we go about every day in the gym, and we just want them to come prepared every day in practice, and they have been so far.
Yeah, that was the tone in the preseason. We did a lot of good things. Like you said, we went to the PSAC championship and the national championship. They were great accomplishments, but at the end of the day, we didn't come away with the win, and that always was not in the back of our mind. That was on our mind the whole off season and in the preseason. That was just the tone, and still is the tone today.
And that was then, and this is now. We're going to take a quick break here on the Big Hit. We'll come back and talk about the impending PSAC tournament. Brandon Norfleet, Tevin Hanner joining us here in studio. We're going to take a break. Be right back here on the Big Hit.
Here at the Big Hit, we like to be prepared, because sometimes technology doesn't always work, so we do what we can.
Hey, Sean, hit him up.
This just in, Tim Tebow just got inducted to the Hall of Fame. That's not right.
Maybe we need to prepare just a little more.
Welcome back into the Big Hit here, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Crimson Huddle, and we're pleased to be joined by two senior members of the IUP men's basketball team, Tevin Hanner and Brandon Norfleet. And guys, before the break, we were talking a little bit about the PSAC championship game from last year, but I want to go back just a little bit, not as long ago, but last week, in fact, to senior night against Pitt Johnstown, and it was a pretty cool moment for one senior in particular, that being Anthony Rocco, making his first career start, a walk-on guy. Tell me a little bit about Anthony Rocco, and how cool was that for you guys to see someone who works like that make his first career start?
Man, I was just so excited. He was so happy before the game. I was excited for him because he deserved that. He deserved it. He worked so hard. He's been here for 5 years, so he's really developed that IUP culture. He's instilled in us since I got here how hard IUP works, and I'm just so excited that he got that opportunity.
Yeah, definitely, because seeing a guy work every day, knowing he's not getting in the game that often, but he's committed, he's down for the team always, and for him to get in the spotlight just for the little bit of time that he did, man, it was great.
And the result was probably pretty sweet as well. With
for sure.
Very entertaining game, and you had already clinched the #1 seed in the PSAC West, so you are heading to the PSAC tournament. That's happening next week here. This recorded on a Tuesday. The PSAC tournament starting next Tuesday. Always an interesting time of year, postseason basketball. The intensity kicked up a notch. IUP has won 3 of 4 PSAC championships from 2010 to 2013 before you guys were on the team, but you've seen the culture of success. Will you guys kind of look back to those teams and try and draw off of those experiences, or does Coach Lombardi ever kind of remind you about what those teams did to be successful?
Coach, he stresses on us finding our own identity. He doesn't want us to be like any other team because he knows we don't have those players from any other team. So he just wants us to find our own identity, and our identity this year has been enthusiastic, has been us playing for each other, us getting better on defense, because without our defense, we're not going to win the championship. Those teams in the past have been great defensive teams, and I feel like that's why they won, but our offense has been great, and we just got to work on our defense. So, yeah.
Yeah, I felt like every team is different, as Brandon has said. But I think the one thing he always tried to instill in us is championship DNA, and being committed to the process and locking in and mentally being focused. And those are things that championship teams have. So, and in that aspect, he just compared that comparison of what they had as far as the championship DNA, and I think that's what he tried to still in us.
Absolutely, and it's worked so far to this point, clinching a bye here in the first round of the PSAC tournament here. So going into postseason play, I'd like to learn a little bit more about your preparation. You say how IUP works very hard. I'd like to kind of delve into that a little bit here. Do you guys plan on making any adjustments before or during the tournament, or are you going to continue playing the way you have all season? What do you guys do to prepare for a game, kind of?
Every game we're just stressing defense, stress defense. Our offense is going to come. We got people that can put the ball in the hoop. We just want to work on our defense because we know we're going to have to get stops in the playoffs. We're going to play against power offenses like UPJ. We're going to go against defensive teams like Mercyhurst, things like that. So our game plans for each game is going to be different, but at the same time, every time we go into each game, it's going to be about defense.
Yeah, I think just sharpening up with the mental mistakes, cutting them down. You know, in playoff basketball, the possessions count more than ever, and you playing high-level competition. So 3 or 4 mistakes is real crucial. So you try to cut them down to 2 or 1, and that's about it.
So the PSAC is a conference that is known for a lot of great teams, and you kind of mentioned there's a little bit of everything in this conference. You've got teams who can score, you've got teams who can play defense, you've got teams kind of right in the middle here. So how far do you think you can go in the PSAC tournament, and what are the keys to making a successful tournament run both here and in the NCAA tournament?
From the beginning of the season, we thought we could win the PSAC championship. That's always our goal as IUP. We want to win a PSAC championship. And in the tournament, it's magical. Anything can happen in the tournament, just like last year. Everybody counted us out. We lost the PSAC championship. And nobody expected us to get all the way to the national championship. So I feel like we can get back there if we stay focused and we're all the way in as a team and fighting for each other.
To take one game at a time. Try not to look ahead against other people. I mean, I can remember last year when Gannon lost to a team like Slippery Rock, who was hot and may not have been a better team, but they were more focused and just they was locked in for that game. You know, their focus was Gannon. So I feel like our focus has had to be on our opponent and just being the better version of us, and not really necessarily worried about the other team and getting better.
Very good. And one final thing here before we call it quits here on the Big Hit inside the Crimson Huddle. Both of you guys are seniors. You've had a year to spend with some of these younger guys, a lot of younger players on the team. We're talking about 2 of the top freshmen in the PSAC in Cobo and Dante Lombardi. You've got some talented sophomores and juniors as well. So tell me about a player that you're excited to see grow and kind of take the reins, so to speak, in this IUP basketball program as you guys depart.
I'm going to go with Cobo Diaz. I think with his size and skill as a freshman, under Coach Lombardi, that's going to be special to see when he's a junior, like a sophomore or junior. I think his work ethic is really good, and he's been improving as just in this season, so I can only imagine what he'll be like in his junior year.
I'm going to have to go with Anthony Glover. I see a lot of myself in him when I came here as a sophomore. He has so much potential. He could put the ball in the hoop. He's smart. He knows the offense. I think that he needs to work on his defense a lot, his competitiveness, but that comes with just being in IUP and under Lombardi. He's going to learn that. I've tried my best to instill in him what I've learned from the other past senior captains, things like that. So once he gets to it's his team, it's his time to take the reins, I think he'll be ready for it, and I'm very excited to where he can go.
Well, I don't know if there's any preferential treatment with the positions of forward, saying that a forward's going to take the guard, saying that a guard's going to take that. But I guess we'll find out. Guys, congratulations on a great season. We certainly wish you the best of luck moving forward. Any final parting shots for the masses here?
We just want to, I'm appreciative of you getting me on the show. Me and Tev, this is my first time being on the show. Yeah. It was a pleasure. Y'all doing a great thing here. And yeah.
I'll say thank you. This is blessed. It's blessed to have this opportunity to share some spotlight with my fellow brother and come out and support us next Tuesday.
Yeah, well, we certainly are grateful that you guys had a chance to come on the show, and we look forward to seeing what you guys can do here as postseason basketball rolls around. March Madness, one of the top times of year. I'm sure you guys would agree. That will do it for the Crimson Huddle. We're going to take a break here on the Big Hit, but when we return, Will Gaucher down here to close us out with the 2-minute drill. Don't go away. This is the Big Hit on IUP-TV.
How are we going to
How are they going to watch this when you are just in La La Land? This is embarrassing.
Is that bad?
Look at you.
You know, I thought this was a pretty good segment.
Did you?
Yeah.
Do you even know what they're saying?
No.
You're putting your foot up on set. You just think this is a couch? This is embarrassing. I mean, even here, you're starting to interrogate somebody. Look at you. Turn your back to the camera. That's embarrassing. Where's your suit and tie? You have a pirate shirt on.
They made the playoffs.
I don't care. You can't be biased. This is ridiculous. Ay, Dios mío.
Listen, all I'm saying is LeBron James is better than Michael
Oh,
Jordan.
Why did everybody get so quiet?
Just don't feel right this week. I'm solo dolo. Shout out to Jose though. He's up there working my teleprompter. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into the big hit this week. I'm William Gaucher, and this is a 2-minute drill. Baseball is upon us. All players will be reporting to spring training by the 26th, with the Twins being the last team to have their workouts the day after. Some interesting points to look out for. How will the Cubs react to the sudden pressure of winning a World Series now? Stealing a divisional player in Jason Haywood from the Cards, adding an insane pitching rotation and the future face of the league in Chris Bryant, and we'll see if this hype will be real. Also, be on the watch out for reigning NL MVP after a huge headline in the Washington Post that read, "I don't think I'm a leader." Let's see how Bryce Harper intends to lead the Nationals to a playoff run. His time in DC is running a little bit short, and a certain historic franchise is missing a big name attraction. Opening day is less than 6 weeks away, so Harper has a little bit of time to brush up on his leadership skills. Also, pay Batista. When you think women's basketball, it's not a WNBA team that comes to mind. You think college. UConn, for instance, has spent a record 428 consecutive weeks in the AP poll, a record that was once held by the Tennessee Lady Vols. When the polls came out yesterday, it was the first time in 565 consecutive weeks the Lady Vols were not ranked. It is saddening to think about it, but let us celebrate the standard that was set by legendary head coach Pat Summitt. Many of the greatest female basketball players of all time came through Knoxville during that streak, such as Tamika Catchings and Candace Parker. Add in the fact that it would take UConn 7 seasons to catch the Vols, and you got magic here. Well, that's all that we have for today. This has been The Big Hit. From director Michael Martone, producers Kyle Condor, Vaughn Dalzell, and yours truly, enjoy your week.